I'm Theo.
And I'm Juliet.
And this is Apologies Accepted.
We offer an entertaining look at some of the big issues in history by examining public apologies of the famous and infamous.
We're looking at politicians, serial killers, actors, and you.
Send us a public apology you would like to make, and we'll read it on the air and give you a chance to redeem yourself or just get some guilt off your shoulders.
We're here for you. Once a week, maybe more if you're really, really sorry.
Everybody, this is Apologies Accepted,
the podcast.
And I'm not Theo.
And I'm not Juliet World, so get used to it.
I wish that I were Theo, because Theo is coming back from a wonderful vacation, and it's sort of tied into our story today because he went to Italy.
To visit the Pope.
Visit the Pope.
Yeah, if only, because we didn't go to Rome.
I was going to say you didn't go to Rome, did you?
Not even close.
Darn it.
However, so we went to Tuscany. And we stayed in a small town in the mountains, and it was like living in a painting.
Oh,
it was so beautiful. It was ridiculously beautiful. Like every view out of every window, it didn't matter where I was or what I was doing, driving, walking, in a grocery store, and you look out the front door, right? It's fucking beautiful
and
outside.
Tuscany. Right there.
So I
in your face
must have taken all over your face. Yes, it was beautiful. And of course, because I have Irish blood, now all I can do is complain. Because it's not about how great it was. It's about what was wrong with it. And so short answer is not much was wrong with the Tuscan villages, right? And towns and small little cities, right? Beautiful, gorgeous. And we set up base in a town called Montepulciano, which really was just a collection of restaurants and pottery stores. And oh my God, I walked this one pottery store and it was amazing stuff. And I found a piece that I just loved. And I was like, this looks great. 500 euros.
Oh, wow.
For a fucking spoon rest? Okay, that's an exaggeration. It was 50 euros. For a spoon rest?
Still a bit much.
Oh, but it's all handmade by my family, and we've been here 5 generations, and I'm the 5th generation that owns the store, and my sister paints the pottery, and it's a family tradition. That's great. So I didn't get a spoon rest. Anyway, it was lots of food, lots of walking, lots of going to essentially the same town over and over again. As I said, we based ourselves in this one town, and then we would drive out to look at another town, maybe an hour away.
Little town.
The drive didn't hurt. The drive was gorgeous.
So beautiful.
So beautiful. And I discovered something about James. He is a law-abiding driver.
Is he?
Oh, yeah. So the speed limit's 50 kilometers.
50. Oh, my God.
He will only go He will do 49. He will not do 50. Yeah, that's the limit. That's the maximum. You can never approach the maximum, is what I understand it from math and driving and James. So the problem with that is the roads are real windy, which is lovely because it's so beautiful and it's a little mountainous and gorgeous trees and just great. So we're going at a nice speed to soak up the beauty and also follow the law. Every other driver wants to do 70.
Absolutely.
And it made for some uncomfortable moments with people coming up real close and then not understanding what was going on because they weren't law-abiding drivers like James Bell. So just again, lovely. I could go on and on and on. Then we got to Florence, and Florence is nice for art. And I don't know if the world knows that. But we went and saw the Statue of David, and it was magnificent. It was truly amazing. Wow. Is he big?
It's a big statue.
Much bigger than I expected. And I am talking about the genitalia. I have always had in my mind that it was smallish size.
I thought it was too. I've seen it, and I didn't think it was big. Did they change it?
Did they change it?
I don't remember it being big.
All I know is I must have had in my head that it was like a Cupid size, if you will, right?
An innie.
I was like, wow, that's pretty accurate to life there, huh? All right. So I guess enough about that. Yeah. And so, and I'll say it wasn't just me. A couple of people, we did a tour, right?
Yeah.
And a couple of people in our tour group were like, wow. So, I don't know. All right. And so Florence was good for art. So many tourists everywhere.
Yeah.
Thousands of tourists. It
everywhere.
Just didn't feel like I was in Italy at a certain point.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I'll say, like, we'll leave it at that. If anybody has a chance to go to Tuscany, I highly recommend the little villages and towns. And again, it's every village, every town is kind of the same thing. Oh, it's a medieval village with a windy road at the top of a hill, but they're all beautiful.
They are all beautiful.
Yeah. And so that was great. And now I'm back in America.
Darn it.
And I happily speak the language here. So
that is always nice.
I use so much Spanish in Italy. And James speaks some Italian because he was a tour guide in Italy when he was a teenager. So he doesn't speak Italian. He speaks bar Italian, right? He can go in and he can order drinks. He can get to a bathroom. He knows some swear words, right? So fantastic. I think that everybody speaks Spanish. And so if you don't speak English, you speak Spanish.
You'll try Spanish.
Yeah. And the mixture of the two makes me fluent in every language except Russian.
Right. And no one speaks Russian.
No. So, well, again, we'll just leave it there. I could go on and on and on, but there's nothing worse than listening to somebody talk about a vacation you didn't go on. So you're welcome, America and world.
Do you have any other bacon for this week?
None. We got back. This is day 3, maybe day 4.
Have you gotten over your jet lag yet?
I was informed that I don't have jet lag.
Oh, okay.
I said yesterday, I'm still a little jet lagged. You don't have jet lag. You can't have jet lag. You're from this time zone. And
that's insane.
It's easier coming back to the U.S. Jet lag in the U.S. is better than jet lag over in Europe.
Well, it is easier going this direction. I think this is the right direction that it's easier. I don't know. I can't keep track.
You're up at 4 a.m. here.
I sleep weird anyway, so yeah.
Yeah, but
so it doesn't matter.
So anyway, mostly over the jet lag, all of our plants died, and so since I feel a little bad about that. Oh, well, and I do have a piece of bacon, which is very minor. It's a minor bird. I bought a stupid little birdhouse thing at Target years ago. And I just set it on a table outside randomly and I'm going to hang it somewhere. A bird has built a nest in it.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And laid eggs. There's 5 eggs in there.
That's amazing.
And she has now set up camp and is not leaving the little birdhouse. And I check on her every minute of the day.
Oh, I wonder what kind of bird it is. Do you know?
It's a tiny one
tiny one.
Probably the size of my thumb. And it's brown.
Maybe it's a finch or something. I don't know.
Finch, a sparrow, an eagle. I don't know.
An eagle. That's awesome. Congratulations on your new family.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. Can't wait till those babies are. And you know what's going to happen. They'll hatch, and then one of them's going to fall out of the nest and die, and I'm going to find it.
That's going to be terrible.
Henry will eat it.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with the birds. I'll keep you updated.
Thank you.
All right. And what about you? What's shake and bacon? You home staycation person?
I know. I haven't been doing anything but working. It's been a big drag, but the weather at least has been nice. And I did watch a couple movies yesterday. So I saw Saltburn. Have you seen Saltburn?
I have.
What do you think?
It went different places. I was expecting it to be one thing, and then it made a little bit of a turn and became a different thing. And so at the end, I actually really did enjoy it.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed it. I think, it's supposed to be a takedown of the rich or whatever, but I think it was actually glorifying the rich. Although, how do you not glorify the rich? I mean, it seems like it'd be a fucking blast to be rich. So I watched the whole thing. So I guess you can say I enjoyed it. I think I only fast forwarded through some parts that were boring, but that was pretty good. And then I tried to watch this movie called Hitman, which was terrible. And I think I was actually trying to watch a movie called The Fall Guy, which is a remake of The Fall Guy from whenever that movie came out in the 90s or 80s or whatever. But so Hitman was bad. Don't watch it. Maybe The Fall Guy is better. I don't know. I might try to watch it today, except it's $20 to rent The Fall Guy on streaming.
No.
So I think I might wait until it's cheaper.
Wait until it's free.
Wait till it's free. Yeah. Well, nothing is free anymore. Sad.
Speech is free.
Speech is, well, for a little while longer, maybe. Speech is free. We can talk about what someone said and got in trouble for. So in that way, speech is not always free. Well, let's talk about Pope Francis, our favorite pope and everyone's favorite pope. He apologized in late May after he was quoting using a vulgar and derogatory term for gay men. So Italian media quoted some Italian bishops who reported that Francis jokingly used the term, which translate roughly to F-ness. I'm not going to say the word. You can say the word if you want to. You're allowed, but I'm not. While speaking in Italian, of course, during a private meeting with 250 Italian bishops on May 20th. He'd used the term in a discussion reaffirming the Vatican's ban on allowing gay men to enter seminaries and be ordained priests. So finally, what ended up happening was a Vatican spokesman, Matteo Bruni, issued a statement regarding the comments that the Pope had made. And this statement is what we're calling, what's being called the Pope's apology. And we'll go over it in a few minutes. And Bruni did not explicitly confirm that the Pope did use the word, but he didn't deny it either. So I think it's probably pretty obvious that he did say it. And as background, the Italian Bishops' Conference recently approved a new document which outlines training for Italian seminarians. This document supposedly focused on celibacy as the primary requirement for priests, not heterosexuality. So it seemed like the church was sort of moving in the direction of saying, maybe if you're gay, you can be a priest as long as you don't have sex with any men. Currently, gay priests are banned in the church. And when one of the bishops in the May 20th meeting asked Francis about gay priests, the Pope reportedly reiterated his objection to admitting gay men, saying that while it was important to embrace everyone, not literally, it was likely that a gay person... It was likely that a gay person could risk leading a double life. The Pope is then alleged to have joked that, quote, there is already an air of F-ness, unquote, in seminaries. So, not funny. Pope, are you getting old? What is going on with you? Normally, you've been okay for a pope. I don't know what's going on. He's actually famous. He's been known for his outreach to LGBTQ plus Catholics, starting from his famous "Who am I to judge?" comment in 2013 about a priest who supposedly had had a gay lover in his past. The Pope has ministered to transgender Catholics, allowed priests to bless same-sex couples, although not their relationships or marriages, and called for an end to anti-gay legislation, saying in a 2023 interview with the Associated Press that being homosexual is not a crime. However, he has said that homosexual activity is a sin, and he also signed a Vatican document asserting that gender-affirming surgery was a grave violation of human dignity. So I guess he's trying to walk this line where he says that, we should treat gay people like humans, but we shouldn't let them be priests because they might go around, doing gay things.
Those gay urges are harder to resist than the heterosexual urges for sex, right?
Clearly.
Gay men cannot control themselves,
no.
whereas straight men famously can.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So there we go.
Oh, so much going on. So what have you got for us, Theo?
Well, so on one hand, a lot, and then on the other hand, nothing. And that's it. There's no middle ground. So as somebody who was raised Roman Irish Catholic, and as somebody whose family was like Catholic of all Catholics, right? We knew we were Catholic before we knew that we were white, right? And not only that, but Roman Irish Catholic, that very important distinction. I have no idea other than that's a church that comes from Ireland. And I know all the Irish swear words that Roman Irish Catholics use, right? And so that's a part of my childhood that was important. And as I get older, and this is not just a Theo thing, this happens to all people, right? As we get older and we start approaching death, we start looking for comfort, and there's nostalgia, and people tend to get a little more religious, right? And some of that's just kind of shoring up, like, maybe if you do exist, God, I just better be on the safe side here. And so with this new Pope, with Pope Francis, and with his gay friendliness,
right,
I was thinking, if I was going to do anything, I would just simply become Jewish, right? Why not? But maybe it wouldn't hurt me to go to a Catholic church every now and then. Maybe I could see going as a 75-year-old person at some distant future time. Like, wouldn't it be fun to go to midnight mass at Christmas time? And wouldn't it be fun just to blah, blah, blah? And it'd be like revisiting my childhood.
Right.
And hedging my bets just in case.
I did that once. I tried to go to church, and I went to midnight mass at Christmas, and I went to some of the early morning masses and things like that. But I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
So was there any comfort in because for me, it would be about the comfort with the familiarity of the rituals and the words and the sense.
I mean, the only thing I was really familiar with was being bored to death.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. I knew what was going on at every moment, and it was the same thing that had gone on every 50,000 times I'd been to mass before. So, it was kind of nice at Christmas time. The midnight mass is kind of nice just because of all the lights and the flowers and the greenery and things like that.
And the Jesus.
And the Jesus. But you can get that at any church. So, I guess I'm just a bad Catholic.
Hi, I'm definitely a very bad Catholic, the worst of them. And so there has been in my head this thing of like, all right, Pope Francis is kind of like opening up the door for gays, and I get it, right? He's not saying gay is good or gay sex is good. He's saying
be gay, yeah.
If you happen to be gay, the act is a sin, but you are not an evil person, right? So whatever, it's like, there might be a little bit of room in that pew for me now, maybe as I get older, going back. And then this happened, and I was like, no, it's very clear. The church just wants the money. That's it.
Yeah.
And so and I wasn't in the room. I did get some phone calls from people who were in the room. No. And so in prep for the show, I listened to a podcast.
Ooh.
And I listened to it so you would not have to.
Thank you.
You're welcome, because it's called
Grateful.
Inside the Vatican by America Media. And guess what? They're pro-Catholic. Wow.
Oh, what a surprise.
What a surprise. And I'm not anti-Catholic, right? So, I got to tell the story. It's a total aside.
Okay.
But speaking of anti-Catholic, so James' family is Protestant. And we're in Italy. It's pretty religious. There's a lot of Virgin Mary stuff in all the towns.
Yeah.
And I said, James was criticizing me because I had not done any research. I had here's the 4 museums I need to see in this town. Or, that restaurant on the southeast corner of these 2 streets is, I didn't do any of that. I'm just like showing up and walking and let's eat here. There's a McDonald's. Let's go there.
Right.
So I said, I have done some research. I want to see the Blessed Virgin's feet. I want to see Our Lady of Pigeons. And he was like, what? And I said, yeah, there's like a statue of the Virgin's feet, and they're real big, and all the pigeons nest on them. She was famous for her love of pigeons, and they used to just like sit on her feet. And he was like, what? I was like, yeah, Our Blessed Virgin of the Pigeons. You don't know? And he was like, I'm not Catholic. And I'm like, I can't believe you believe this. I can't believe you think Catholics are so fucking weird that we believe the Virgin Mary walked around with pigeons on her feet.
Oh, they totally are, though.
Well, we totally are. They totally are. I didn't do the magic ritual where I walk up to a church and stick a knife in the door and say, I denounce thee. So whatever. A non-religious person here. Agnostic. There we go.
Okay.
So anyway, the point of all of this for me is the church felt like it was welcoming, then it might not be. And then I listened to this podcast. It was very pro-Catholic. And so apparently this is the situation. Twice a year, 226 bishops get together with the Pope, and they all sit in a big meeting room somewhere in Rome. and it's all the bishops from all over the world. And they have a free-form discussion where the bishops stand up and ask questions and the Pope answers them.
All right.
Right? And in this particular session, some bishop used that word, right? And used that word / it's a slang word that apparently is very offensive to gay people if a straight person says it, but gay people apparently use it for each other, right?
Okay.
So it's kind of the Italian version of the N-word for gays, right?
Okay.
I could use it, you can't, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so somebody in the room used that, and then the Pope also then clarified his position on gay people entering the seminary using that word, right? And what sort of got lost in the media was the Pope said, hey, if you're a practicing homosexual with a dick in your mouth, you're not allowed to become a priest. Mm-hmm. But if you can keep the dicks out of your mouth, you can give out all the wafers you want. You can be a priest, right? So he wasn't saying gay people are not allowed in the seminary. What he was saying is non-celibate people are not allowed in the seminary, right? Okay. And there might be a special condition around gay people because, they just can't stay away from dicks, I guess, right?
Sure. Can.
Lesbians never came lesbians.
I guess you're right.
I don't know if you've heard. So then that was like, for me, right? Oh, because this is only ever about me. Oh, well, all right. So he's not saying, when I thought he was saying gay people were not allowed into the church at all as priests, it was like, oh, come on, right? But now it's like, oh, okay, you're saying everybody's got to be celibate. Cool. Okay, that's fine. But what really, I'll say, crossed my mind was, what was this leak about? Because this is a private meeting that's a safe space for men who wear dresses and don't sleep with women, also known as priests. I'm just going to keep making these jokes. And somebody leaked this to a conservative Italian news blog, a political blog. It's kind of their equivalent of the Drudge Report, right? So leans a little more conservative. And whatever, it was the big news that day. Somebody inside that room called the owner of the website or the journalist who runs the website, I don't know the name of the website, and shared this story, right? And so why? Well, it seems to me, and mind, I'm connecting dots here. I love a good conspiracy story, right? Mm-hmm. So let's take a look at a possible reason that this happened.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you mentioned, this Pope is a more gay-friendly Pope. In July of 2013, he was asked about gay priests, and Pope Francis said, who am I to judge? And then 10 years later, Pope Francis criticized laws that criminalize homosexuality as unjust, saying that God loves all of his children as they are. Now, I'm going to be quoting from a gentleman named David Gibson, who is the director of the Center of Religion and Culture at Fordham University, and he gave an interview to PBS News Weekend in December of 2023. So this interview is from a couple of months ago and does not touch upon this incident, which happened in May, right? But in David Gibson's view, the criticism against Francis is an entirely different category than dissent from the political left was against John Paul or Pope Benedict, right? These bishops and cardinals aren't just disagreeing with the Pope. These aren't matters of doctrine. They're saying he's not a legitimate teacher of the faith. Some of them are even saying he's not a legitimate Pope. It's almost like accusing the president of sedition, right? So a little bit of the MAGA stream here, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of the authoritarian political discourse entering into high religion. So, and again, this is all according to David Gibson, Pope Francis is really focused on being a pastor, and that is providing a more pastoral, inclusive, merciful church, going out to the peripheries, to those who are suffering. This has been his signature, really going out there and helping those who are poor, helping the homeless, helping immigrants, helping refugees. And he's seen by the public as a very merciful figure. What he's not terribly merciful towards are the elites in the church, the people who are powerful, who have all the privileges and trappings that come with being a priest, being a bishop. Let's be more clear here. And Pope Francis has previously moved against some of these types of bishops. For example, in November of 2023, not too long ago, the Pope moved against two of his loudest detractors, Bishop Joseph E. Strickland and Cardinal Raymond Leo Burke, both of whom are Americans. In the case of Bishop Strickland, his diocese wasn't performing well. Morale was kind of down. The diocese is divided administratively. Not quite sure what all of that means. I know what a diocese is. Everybody, it's kind of like a parish. And so the Pope felt that Strickland just wasn't running things well. And so Pope Francis finally said, you can't be a bishop of this diocese anymore, but you're a bishop. You still are going to retain some of your powers, but we're going to replace you here. Mm-hmm. In the case of Cardinal Burke, he is a 75-year-old cardinal who's living in a 4,500 square foot apartment in Rome with a $60,000 a year stipend. However, the cardinal spends about a month in Rome total throughout the year. He doesn't really have a job in Rome. He has all these perks and privileges, and the Pope said to the cardinal, hey, look, you can still be a cardinal. You can vote in the next conclave. You can even be elected Pope in the future. But the Vatican is no longer going to give you a stipend anymore, and we're not going to give you a free apartment. You can keep the apartment. You just need to pay for it. It's reasonable, right?
Yeah.
But it's seen as a move against the conservative movement. So in November, Strickland was removed as the bishop of the Diocese of Tyler, Texas. Uh-huh. So that'll tell you a lot about probably his political leanings. And then a few weeks later, Burke was stripped of his Vatican privileges, as I previously mentioned. The oppositional forces to Pope Francis are very loud within the church. Mm-hmm. And they're very influential, but it's a small group. And they're located predominantly in the Anglosphere. I love that word. That just means the English-speaking American English-speaking countries, right? And it's largely the United States. And there's a lot of big money apparently funding this conservative movement. And so we see American politics or some force within the U.S. reaching out into the Vatican, funding conservative voices, and also doing the same thing politically in the U.S. This opposition has an approach that's similar to the political, and again, this is Professor Gibbons, similar to the political trends in the United States. They don't like what Pope Francis is doing, being a Christian. He's upending all the customs and all the privileges that these bishops and cardinals were used to. And they really don't like it that if you step back from the disagreements over politics, over doctrine, over ideology, a lot of this is simply the fact that there are bishops and cardinals who had the inside track under previous popes, but now you have a pope who's from the Southern Hemisphere, he's from Latin America, he's from South America, and he is not playing favorites in the way that other popes used to. So I think the leak was not some liberal bishop that was like, oh my God, he really doesn't like gay people. I think it's a conservative strike, if you will, against the Pope, and just trying to let's use the word smear, even though he said these things, right? And then the podcast Inside the Vatican was a giant apology for the Pope, and they're going to say, or they did say, it's not they're going to say, they pointed out, Italian isn't his first language, he just speaks it fluently. Right. And then Spanish is his first language, and he uses a lot of slang when he speaks Spanish. Very, very common for him to do. And so he probably was just using slang in Italian and didn't really appreciate what that term might mean to gay Italians.
Right.
Yeah, so let's go. That's all I got.
All right. Well, I have the apology and a little note at the end of the apology. And the apology is that Matteo Bruni, who we heard from earlier, who's not just a spokesman, but the director of the Vatican press office, responded May 28th to repeated requests for comment. And he said, and this is basically what we're considering the Pope's apology, Pope Francis is aware of articles that recently came out about a conversation he had behind closed doors with the bishops of the CEI. And that's the Italian acronym for the Italian Bishops' Conference. As he has had the opportunity to state on several occasions, quote, in the church there is room for everyone, for everyone. No one is useless. No one is superfluous. There is room for everyone, just as we are, all of us. The Pope never intended to offend or express himself in homophobic terms, and he extends his apologies to those who were offended by the use of a term reported by others. That's his apology. Unfortunately, on June 11th, 2 weeks after the first offense, he used the same word again during a closed meeting with Roman priests at Rome's Salesian Pontifical University. In this meeting, he suggested gay men should be welcome in the church, but not in seminaries. So I'm not even going to bother reviewing the apology by the criteria because he didn't apologize and he went ahead and did the same thing again 2 weeks later. So I'm giving this apology a 0, and I do not accept it.
I also give this apology a 0, and it's only because you did. No, it's only because he did the very same thing 2 weeks later, and, all right, you're not really sorry, so therefore...
You're not sorry at all, and you obviously understand what you're saying because you're saying it twice after they told you not to say it the first time.
Right, yeah. And
That's
so...
a big L for the Pope.
It's, who would imagine that the Pope would do something bad?
It's hard to imagine because he's infallible.
It's really hard to imagine.
At least in some cases.
I know. And, Pope Francis, there's so many other things to worry about in the world outside of sex.
Yeah.
Really. And so,
yeah.
I don't know, maybe do away with the celibacy thing and then problem solved.
That would probably help. Yeah. Also do away with the child abuse thing. That would be nice.
And allow women to be priests too. And here's the thing, right? The church.
Just abolish the whole religion thing.
Please. But the church is going to need to change, right? Society is not going to change for the church. Those days are over.
Yeah.
Right. Unless the church gets big cannons and then points them at people and they're like, hey, we're going to murder you if you don't do what we say.
Hopefully not.
And so in order to keep that sweet, sweet money flowing in, the church has to be involved in politics, right?
Mm-hmm.
In order to get money. And you need people. You need people in the pews coughing up cash, and you need people there to talk to the people in the pews, right, who are coughing up cash. And you're not going to get that if the whole world... If we all become transgender and you say that's a terrible thing, you're going to disappear, right?
Right.
And so, or if we all wear purple and you're like, purple's the color you cannot wear. Fuck you, church. You get what I'm saying? Why am I over-explaining it? I don't know, because I love to do that. So the Pope Francis clearly recognizes the church needs to move in a certain direction and needs to be more welcoming in order to keep cash flowing into the church.
Yes. Hopefully he will continue down that road rather than the road of using homophobic slurs.
I will say I do like his work with the poor. I think that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Color me crazy on that one.
The bare minimum.
Is feed other people, yeah.
Is feed the poor.
Yeah.
Comfort the afflicted. Afflict the comfortable.
Afflict the comfortable.
Yes. So do you have a who's sorry now or an apology expected this week, Mr. Theo?
I do not.
Well, I do.
Okay, great. You go.
I have a short one, and it is an apology expected, and it is an apology from an Oregon amusement park where a ride malfunctioned on Friday, leaving more than 24 people hanging upside down 50 feet in the air for almost 30 minutes. Did you see that?
No, and it's not that that's my worst fear, but
fear.
It's a fear.
It's a terrible thing. It looked terrible. The ride is called Atmosphere, and it stopped at its highest point at about 3 p.m. First responders arrived 15 or 20 minutes later and lowered the riders to the ground. It said lowered the riders to the ground, but I think what they did was they just got the ride moving again. And it was one of those things that it's like a lever or something.
Oh.
No, it goes back and forth, and then it stopped like this with the people hanging upside down.
So it's like a big ship?
And then they pushed it over so it went back. No, it's like a tower, and the people were at the top and hanging upside down. And then they pushed it over, and so it had to go through its rotation or whatever again to slow down and stop at the bottom. So it probably took like 30 minutes from when they were first hanging upside down 50 feet in the air to when they were able to get off. Everyone was fine. One person had pre-existing conditions and was sent to the hospital to be checked on, but was okay. And nobody was hurt. Thank God, everything was okay. Some people lost their cell phones, things like that. But nobody knows what went wrong. They've shut the ride down, and I guess they'll open it up when they figure out what went wrong. But I don't think I'm ever going to even go in an amusement park again, ever.
Oh, I mean, no. Look, never, ever.
Why would I? Because I don't want to go on any of these rides anymore. I certainly am not interested in all the people that are going to be there. And I certainly don't care about the food. So I guess those are the things that people go to amusement parks for.
Well, that or like taking kids, right?
And kids.
Kids love it.
Obviously, forget kids.
Yeah. No, I worked at Disneyland and rides malfunction. Yeah, shit happens. And it's bad. There's a thing. I never saw it. I never, ever saw it. So I'm just going to say I never saw it. But my old boss said that she did see it, and it's called The Big Book of Disney Death.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so when something happens in an amusement park, you've got to take photos of it for insurance.
Oh, my God.
Right. Got to document what happened because we're going to be filing an insurance claim, and they're going to want to get those photos right away. And so the only thing I remember is, this is terrible. So it's not funny. I'm going to laugh. So there's always been accidents at Disney, and some of the photos are from different eras.
Right.
And the photo that she told me about specifically was from the 60s. And the hostess was wearing white go-go boots, which sounds really rad, right?
Uh-huh.
And she was standing on a stage, and I don't know, something about there were mechanical doors that opened and closed, and she was supposed to turn to the left, and she turned to the right, and the doors closed on her and cut her in half.
Oh, my God.
And all that was sticking out of the doors was her leg with the white go-go boot on it.
Oh, my God.
Which struck me as very funny at the time, and I laughed. And now that I say it, I'm like, oh, it's terrible. But I think she must have pulled it in a really funny way.
That's like the Wizard of Oz or whatever.
It's the reverse of the Wizard of Oz. Your boots will kill you. Yeah, so I can't imagine hanging upside down for 30 minutes. All the blood would go to your head.
It would be horrible.
You'd pass out.
I thought that could kill you, but I guess not.
It'll make you rich.
Yeah, it might. Yeah. That would be nice if they all got rich.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my apology expected for today. And I think that's all I've got for the week. And we might be back next week. How about that? 2 weeks in a row.
Oh my God, the craziness is never going to stop now. We are back because there's no more vacation. Summer is over, even though it's not really over yet.
Just starting.
Christmas is here.
Yeah.
Gear it up. I sent you that Halloween photo. I walked into a store.
Couldn't believe it.
America.
Where was that?
This was on June 14th. And
what store?
It was at a store called At Home, which is a really big chain.
Okay.
And it's like a Target, except it's like if Target was a football field size. They're huge.
Wow.
And I walked in, and they had not just a couple of Halloween decorations up.
A bunch.
They had their main aisle was all Halloween, several tables filled with giant jack-o'-lanterns, and
crazy.
Wasn't even a mistake. It was like, we put this out here on purpose. The 4th of July hasn't even happened yet, everyone.
Right. I mean, August is too much for Halloween stuff.
August
let's
is
shoot.
starting to feel like an okay time for Halloween stuff now because they're breaking me down.
September.
So, yeah, so I don't know. And it's not like At Home is one of those chains where, I don't know, where they discount stuff off season because the shit was not on sale.
Wow.
For a minute there, I was like, can I swear? I forgot our podcast form. Even though I've probably said fuck like 40 times already. So yeah, full price Halloween stuff. It's Christmas is here.
What a crazy world we live in.
It's terrible world with a wonderful pope.
All right, we'll end on that note. Thanks, everybody. Stay calm, porcupines. Stay cool, cucumbers.
Stay calm. Calm down, everyone.
Stay calm. And don't trip potato chips, right, Theo?
That's right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Apologies Accepted, the podcast.
You can find links to the articles and the sources in the show notes.
To submit an apology or find out more, visit us at apologiesaccepted.net, where you can also find our merchandise.
We're on Twitter at Apologies Accepted.
And on Instagram at apologies.accepted.
You can support our important work at Patreon.com/Apologies Accepted.
And fuck Facebook.
Bye.
Bye.